Welcome to the Art of Succession podcast with Barrett Young. Join us as we explore the strategies, stories, and insights that shape the journey of leadership transitions and business success. No matter where you find yourself along the journey, this is the podcast where you'll find the tools to make it happen.
Take that knowledge, that stuff that I'm sharing out there, and really develop some course and content around that to help train groups of business owners together. Buying or selling a business, like to think about like what it means for their spouse, because you're going to change, your lives are going to change. Really what's helped in my healing from burnout, if you want to call it that, is like seeing other people talking about it, chatting with other people.
Welcome back for part 2 of my discussion with Adam Shay. Adam Shay sold his CPA firm in 2023, and it was only on the other side of it that he began to recognize the symptoms of burnout within his own professional life. If you're interested in part 1 of our discussion, you can watch that here. Otherwise, let's get back to the episode. So let's talk to the mindset shift now, because like you said, it's Adam Shay CPA, and Adam Shay's no longer going to be there anymore. What's going through your mind as you're like, I'm an employee again. I'm not a 100% owner here. And then starting to look towards the future. Like I said, you're not able to fully retire. So there's got to be something else. What's going through your mind here? Just that transition from owner to employee versus, or seller.
Yeah. I mean, I slowed down some, didn't work as much, which was all good things. But at the same time, like doing that then caused me to do a lot of self-reflection and be like, is stuff with this company in the space really what I want to be doing? Is like, or do I really realize, kind of reflecting on that I enjoy more teaching and advising business owners and in the weeds, accounting and finance and tax stuff. And so it just kind of, I don't know, had to have, I guess, more headspace and quiet time, and not so running around like a chicken with my head cut off some of the time, like I was as a firm owner, to just kind of really reflect and kind of adjust to that. But it was, things I did not anticipate. I probably should have, or I did anticipate, but just not as much. It's like, it's really tough when your company's your baby and someone comes in and changes a lot of stuff that, you maybe don't agree should be changed. Or that, and some of the stuff was a better change, was the right thing, but it still doesn't mean that it was easy for me to see someone come in and do that.
Just to elaborate a little bit on that. In my mind, I liken it to my wife and our first starter house, we lived there for 12 years and raised our kids in there and then moved out, but it's still in the same town we live in. And so every time she drives by on the way to Target, she's like, I can't believe they've done this. And I have to remind her, I'm like, it's their house.
Yeah.
Like, you wouldn't want our owners of our current house to drive by and get mad because of the things we're doing. So that's what, in my mind, I equate that to. But yeah, just talk about, did you ever have conversations in that first year? Like, I don't think that's going to go over well, or you need to not do that, or how did you tell yourself to let go or move along?
And I think your analogy that you shared about your wife in the first house is like kind of a very accurate analogy as to how it is and how it should be viewed, with myself and the business. I had a very, the owner and I would have one-on-ones weekly where we talk through stuff, issues, share my opinion. She'd ask my opinion. But she was very driven to drive revenue and drive changes and drive profitability, which are all good things, if you're the business owner, but also introducing too much change at once can be tough for the team. And there's, things along the lines of just technology changes, process changes, things like that. And nothing really like structurally or organizationally changing too much other than, my partner bowing out and, myself not being the owner anymore or the ultimate boss.
I mean, like change technology. So you were the firm to be in Wilmington. Like this is the model for the firm of the future kind of thing. She was even accelerating the gas on some technological changes even beyond that.
Yep. And I think you have like, you know, when you have someone who's, it's really a plus for her, but a lot of people grow up in an accounting firm or like mature in an accounting firm, then they have this set view in their world and in their mind that this is how they operate. And she's coming in with a clear slate and then, bunch of fresh ideas. And so I'm not saying that's a bad thing. It's just, accountants generally don't adapt well to a ton of change at once.
Where our response is, but you can't do that. And it's like, why not? And it's like, because we started doing that 12 years ago. Why? I don't remember. It was what was available to us 12 years ago. So, okay, interesting. I got to ask this, and I know obviously non-competes and all that kind of stuff, but did the thought ever flash through your head that you wanted to start another accounting firm early on?
Not really. And like you said, there's some non-competes in play. It's more um, area based than anything else, which isn't quite as relevant in today's world. But I don't know. I never really wanted to build up a scaled CPA firm again. I mean, I do some contract work with the buyer, could do contract work with others or one-off clients here and there on the advisory side of things, but nothing really to date. And really, I don't know. I've kind of like, I, I don't feel super passionate about it being like finance and accounting, like what I want to spend my day to day doing. Um, Nor do I really have any interest in building something up where I have 15 or 20 employees again. I just want to kind of do the solo gig sort of thing. And it's a very different mindset than I had the first time, which was to build something of value to sell. I thought I'd grow it much bigger than I would, and I'd be able to sell it at 50 to 55 at enough valuation that I wouldn't have to work again. But, it just doesn't always work out as you kind of think it might.
So let's talk about what's next. How soon after the acquisition did you see yourself starting making moves to actually put something in place rather than just an idea in the back of your head? How soon did you register the LLC and start to talk about it and
Yeah.
different
So
things like that?
I had share the knowledge previously, I think since 2018, and had been doing some
A
basically.
URL that you just keep renewing.
No, I had to have I didn't even have a website yet. That's
Okay.
but and I probably would have ended up with the .com instead of the .co if I had registered when I started with it. But I just did a lot of I did some accounting firm specific training, some technical training with one kind of educational content course creator in the accounting space. And so I'd already kind of had the experience, and really in that journey, like he wanted me to do more technical training and I really wanted to do firm ownership and just entrepreneurship training. And so I knew ultimately like long term, I told him after the acquisition, like the course needed updating from a technical perspective. I just didn't have the desire or skill set to do that at that point. Really the desire more than anything. But I've had, experience like teaching, 50 or so sessions of like just educational content to a group of business owners or of various sizes. And really that's kind of, I don't know, I guess this past summer, and I realize I'm jumping all over the place, but this past summer, I started posting on LinkedIn regularly and it was kind of therapeutic and teaching a lot about like, here's what I had this great exit. I can sit in, drink Mai Tais or whatever forever. But like, here's what I would have taught myself, or here's what I would have done differently. Here's my lessons learned, and sort of has become therapeutic um, to share that and to share just kind of more about myself. Um, and I'm really trying to then like take that knowledge, that stuff that I'm sharing out there, and really develop some course and content around that to help train groups of business owners together, as well as potentially some business coaching. Because I do love entrepreneurship. I love working with business owners. It's just more in the general business operations side than maybe the accounting and finance weeds.
Yeah, I gotcha. Well, so what's that look like today? I mean, are you on a platform, or is it one-on-one business coaching on a subscription? How did that develop?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still developing that now and kind of working on some ideas and content. And so my plan is here, end of Q1, start of Q2 is to have a online meet four times in a month, where I run through content with a group of people, and then do some support on the back end of that as well with entrepreneurs and business owners that really want to, either I kind of have the idea of having those that are in startup or early stage. They have a different set of issues. You have those that are in growth stage, so having a group of them together, and then those that want to go to exit or kind of more the mature stage. Because as you know very well, Barrett, like on the end side of things, like, or the back side of things, when you're starting to think about exit, you got to do a lot of things, um, you know, all around with your business to maximize that value and to make due diligence as smooth as possible.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. You have to clean everything up. You have to make sure that it's in a good position to be replicated, not just fall apart as soon as you walk out. But I mean, what I'm most interested in, we've been associated for a long time through a lot of this process. I closed my company, and I know the exhaustion that you don't feel until you're on the other side of it, and the self-identity shift that you have to go through too. And that's what I've seen become more out of you through LinkedIn over the past year, is that burnout side, recognizing I was burned out, and I would not have, it's a good thing this happened when it did. So talk to me about some signs of burnout that don't look like burnout, just talk some more about that.
Yeah. I mean, I think unhealthy habits I had was just eating late at night, just food for stress purposes. Drinking, like not drinking like getting hammered drinking, but drinking a couple drinks every day. I don't drink anymore. I mean, I don't judge people that do, but I just have kind of made the decision to really not do that. Um, I think part of it, everyone writes it off as an entrepreneurial mind, or that's just being a business owner, but was the inability to sleep. Just kind of all those sorts of things, just kind of were masking what was going on really underneath or behind the curtains, or helping, maybe not masking, but helping me cope with it. And
yeah, rationalizing. And like you said, that's being a business owner, right? Totally normal.
yeah,
No, it's
the
not.
hustle and grind culture.
Yeah. Yeah. So now that you look back and you see that, I mean, was that there from day one, or where did it really start to accumulate for you, other than COVID, when it accumulated for everybody? But I mean, can you see, I mean, obviously with the new company, it sounds like you don't want to have employees, you want to keep it yourself, but can you see certain change points in that you would have done differently to remedy this earlier, or to resolve this earlier?
I mean, and I talked about it earlier, like in another little bit, another reference, but like we had the opportunity to hire a manager who I'm convinced would have been a great manager for our team, taking stuff off my partner and myself. But let's say, I don't remember the exact figure, but she was 5 or 10% over kind of what our budget was. And we didn't budge on our budget, couldn't bring her on board, probably brought 3 people on board behind her that just never were what we wanted. Um, and so again, I go back to like, some decisions have to be financial, some decisions have to be growth investments. Like there's a balancing act there. But if I had to do ever again, I would, like with the hindsight I have, I would have hired more senior more earlier, um, and really probably grown slower because when I look at the rapid growth we had, it was tough on both the systems. So when you're at a, a company of 5 people and then you go to 10 people, what worked at
In 1
five
year.
people? Yeah, in a different, like, within a shorter period of time, like, you know, the systems break, the people break, you don't have the right people in the right seats all the time. I mean, we did the right things we were supposed to do, or they say to do, like develop a leadership team, have leadership team meetings, kind of starting to implement some of the EOS stuff, even though we didn't really, you know, formally call everything rocks or, the meetings and everything exactly the same, but we're kind of doing the issue identification and having different people all own and resolve them. Um, but it was, I think, really kind of once we got over 10 people, it just kind of felt like there was always just kind of people issues to deal with, some good, some bad. Um, we had great people so many great people even before COVID just decided that public accounting wasn't for them and just kind of frustrated of all that time, you spent investing in them, how smooth things were with them. And then you got to build someone up from scratch. And so I think that's kind of, when I look back at it personally, just kind of what uh, probably contributed the most was just the stress, because when you're of that size, when someone leaves, there's just so many moving parts, offboarding them, onboarding new people, and then picking up the additional client work and making sure the clients are retained, deciding what you're going to communicate to the clients, like and when, um, you know.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with everything you're sharing. So, I mean, moving forward from here, you've been through this, you've recovered through this, you're now able to share this with other people. What kind of guardrails do you have in place now for you to look at, or your wife to point to, or close friends, anything like that, to keep you from ending back up here in another 6 years?
Yeah. And I'll get to that in a second. Let me go back to the previous question though too. Like one other thing I think that contributed was work from home, and not like, and
Turning it off.
yeah, and not, you're off, like you don't have to drive 20 minutes to get into office, and like it's always here. It's always, as a business owner, if you're looking for it, there's always something you can be doing, or should be doing, or maybe not. Um, so that was part of it. So I think, to your question you just asked, like trying to set up those triggers of when I turn it off, like, like, so walking my dog at the end of the day, like then I'm generally done for work. Making sure I get in exercise every day, every night as well, is like to just kind of help me relieve stress, and just kind of, I've found things that are more healthy releases than what I was doing previously.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard when you're a business owner and there's some weight on your shoulders that can't be shared with other people. It's hard to prioritize anything else over that. And you're like, no, this is, if I don't do this, nobody else will. It's hard to say, well, exercise though is important. Walking the dog, turning things off, not checking email all night long, those things matter, and you have to have that line. So,
And I think other ways are helpful. Like, yes, it can be helpful to talk with your spouse about stuff, but like they
depends
don't
on the
own it.
spouse.
Yeah, and they don't own and run the business. I mean, your spouse could own and run another business, but like I think it's important. Like, really what's helped in my healing from burnout, if you want to call it that, is like seeing other people talking about it, chatting with other people who are business owners, former business owners, whatever. Like, ton of people have reached out to me after, like, yeah, I was dealing with all these issues after I sold my business as well. Here's how I, coped from it, or here's how I recovered, or here's how long it took, or just kind of, I didn't realize I was, until after I was, everyone has their war stories, unfortunately, or most people do.
Yeah, my first business, I was 28 when I started it, and it was from home, and I didn't have any of those boundaries. And I I learned after that my wife didn't necessarily want to hear every single thing that was on my mind because she didn't have any power to be able to do anything about it. And so all I was doing was getting it off of my plate and onto hers. And she's freaking out about things. And I'm like, oh no, I resolved that 2 months ago. I figured that out and moved on. So yeah, healthy boundaries there, and just, yeah, knowing your relationships and knowing what you can share and with whom, and then having plenty of options. Like, I have business owners I can talk to about business things. I have personal friends I can talk to about some things, but not others. So yeah, that's great. Anything else that you want to add, or anything we haven't gone over before we get to the lightning round, Adam?
Um, I mean, no, just talking about the spouse there, like the other interesting thing is like when I had the business, my spouse worked in the business, and that can present its own sets of challenges. The other challenge was like she didn't continue with the buyer, and she wasn't super marketable for, just from she was just kind of doing admin, like whatever I needed to be done. Um, and, so it's just, I would encourage someone if they're buying or selling a business, like to think about like what it means for their spouse. Um, Either way, like even if they are or are not working in the business, like just what it means, because you're going to change, your lives are going to change. And like, just make sure you, I don't know, think through and talk through that, and that they're okay with you being like in their hair more or whatever it may be. Um, I
So
think I'd drive her. I think I'd drive her crazy if I wasn't working in some capacity. So I don't know if I'm going to continue working for the rest of my life or what.
okay, so you're talking about specifically, it looked like there was a gap in the resume there.
Yeah, for her, I mean, she has a resume, but her name's Sarah Shay, and she was working for Adam Shay CPA for, you know, however many years, as she was also like raised, as she was also shuttling the kids around and volunteering at school and other stuff. Um, and so I don't know, it's just kind of been trying to figure out like what both of us are going to do from a career and business perspective, moving forward.
Okay, awesome. Well, I look forward to getting into the lightning round with you, Adam. I love this part, just to hear more about my guest and find out some things that are on their minds about some of the questions. So, you ready for the lightning round?
Sure, have at it.
Okay. Coffee or tea, and how do you like it prepared?
Tea and iced tea with some sort of fruit flavor in it.
Okay. I assume sweet, or is that an incorrect assumption?
Yeah, I mean, we are in the South, so yeah, it's got some sort of sweetness in it. Although, like, actually, and I'll add the one other tea I like is Starbucks. They have things that are called medicine balls, which is hot tea with honey in it and lemonade in it, and those are very good too.
Like a cold killer kind of
Yeah, it's
thing.
like a cold killer, but you can order. I drink it if I go to Starbucks.
Okay. Yeah. I just wanted to clarify because I know I go south of Virginia and I don't have to say sweet tea. I just say tea.
Yeah,
So it's better than going back home to California and I say, "Do you have sweet tea?" And they're like, "Well, you can add sugar packets to it." I'm like, "Never mind. Just bring me a soda." So, all right. Pie or cake? And do you have a favorite kind?
carrot cake. That's what my mom always made growing up, and so it just kind of has a special spot in me. It was what we got for our birthdays and stuff like that. I think it was my dad's favorite. So
That's awesome. Yeah, that brings back childhood memories for me too. Still enjoy it today. What's a common belief among entrepreneurs that you would love to correct?
I mean, I think it just kind of goes around the hustle culture and the like that you have to like your business has to be your life or your life has to be your business, and just kind of finding balance, even if you're growing and really having a successful business. Like you just need that time and focus, and you need outside interests outside of the work, outside of your family to help maintain that balance. And so I think I'm at least seeing more and more where people are like, no, hustle culture is not that great. Like that's probably the best thing that's come out of the post COVID and pandemic era is like just people seem to be more mindful of that and more mindful of balancing things.
I think it's still taking a while to catch up at the owner level of the companies, but I'm definitely happy to see that at the employee and the manager level of, this company is going to continue to exist after you go. I think stories like yours are important for owners, where it's like, yeah, this company does rely on me, but I need to be somebody else other than just the person in this company. So awesome. What's your favorite holiday and why?
I would say Labor Day. I don't know. I'm a fall and winter kind of guy, even though, it gets hot here in North Carolina in the summertime. And like, I just like that. And so it may still be hot on Labor Day, but it's at least signifying that it's coming. The other thing is, like, this may sound terrible to say, but I think parents can relate to this. It's also generally around the start of school. And so, there's, you have more time to yourself.
The reset of, wow, the house is so quiet again. All right. Awesome. I think you might be the first vote for Labor Day I've had on the podcast. Awesome. Are you a morning person or a night person? And do you have a favorite routine?
I would say generally like morning person, although like, I don't know, one of the things I've done like post acquisition is like really try to focus on my sleep. And so I wake up when I wake up, and it's generally not that super early, but it's not late, but it's not super early. Um, yeah, I mean, my routine again starts with like my work day ends with the walking the dog. My day starts with walking the dog and just kind of getting outside. Um, Sometimes I listen to podcasts, but a lot of times I convince myself that just like not having the noise and just kind of being and observing nature around us is a good start to the day.
Awesome. What's one thing that you would want your successor to remember you for?
I think that being, honest and to my word, and, just representing things as they were, with the business, and just kind of being a stand up guy is kind of what I want someone to remember me as.
Okay. Awesome. Where are you finding creativity right now?
I mean, I share my creativity, or I don't. I find creativity in daily life, and so I kind of like a lot of times thoughts or ideas come to me as far as like things I could write about or could share on LinkedIn, or do for other things or relevant to other business owners. I generally will try to jot down those thoughts because I'm one of those people, like if I don't jot it down, like I've lost the thought like 5 or 10 minutes later, at least with that sort of stuff. Um, and so I don't know, it's just kind of living life with eyes open and trying to cut down on some of the digital and electronic distractions, and just kind of that's kind of what sparks my juice.
Taking the time to observe and just watch and pay attention to why things are the way they are. Yeah. Awesome. Cool. Last question, Adam. What do you have coming up in the next year that's got you really excited or interested, engaged?
Yeah. I mean, I'm just kind of building out this new side of me, this new business for me, and just kind of developing that. I mean, people are asking sort of what I'm doing. I know in the general area, but I'm still hashing through ideas, and just kind of want to work with business owners, entrepreneurs to help them achieve their goals, help them minimize the mistakes I made. And so, in the form of, educational content and, coaching is kind of what my thought process is right now. And you could check in with me in, November, and it may be something, I may have pivoted, who knows, but, that's what I intend to do right now. And it's kind of my goals for 2025.
Awesome. And where can people find you online to follow more along with that?
Best spot for me is probably on LinkedIn. If they just search Adam Shay, Shay, they'll find me pretty easily. And I'm really active on there.
Yep. We're going to link that in the show notes. Awesome. Anything else, Adam, at the end here?
Don't let the business, if you're running a business or thinking of acquiring a business, I just encourage people to find balance and maintain balance, and not to let the stress of it like push you too far. Cause I was fortunate, like through external events or what my partner wanted to do. Like I sold the business, and I was burnt out, didn't really realize it, but I kind of like think back, like, or look back, like what would have happened if that hadn't happened? And I continued. I mean, you hear people ending up in a hospital, other stuff like just kind of shattered lives because they worked too much or carried too much stress. And so I think it's just kind of, that's my message I'm trying to get out, is to your work is not your identity, and your identity is not your work. So, or your business.
Well, thank you for Adam for being on the show and sharing the message. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I hope that you've enjoyed this discussion with Adam Shay. We have new episodes twice a month, interviewing business owners with their own succession stories. If you'd like to be a guest on the Art of Succession podcast, our interview form is down in the description below. If you've enjoyed this episode, please share it with others, and I want to thank you for watching The Art of Succession.